Oh, that Konami scroll and sound logo brings back so many fond memories. Hello everyone, my name is Rob Nava. Thank you for joining me on this commentary track for Richter's playthrough of Akumajo Dracula X, Gino Rondo, also known as Castlevania Rondo of Blood to us English speakers. As many of you know, this game is the only Castlevania game to appear on NEC's PC Engine platform. It's also one of the few Castlevania games to never leave Japan, on its original platform anyway. Eventually, almost apologetically, Konami did release a 2.5D remastered remake of Rondo of Blood for the PSP, called the Dracula X Chronicles. I haven't played that one myself, but I've heard that it's a pretty faithful adaptation of the original, and as a nice bonus, it apparently also included the original Rondo of Blood and its direct sequel, Symphony of the Night, as unlockable content. And yes, you heard that right, the beloved Symphony of the Night is a direct sequel to Rondo of Blood. So if you love Symphony of the Night, you can thank Rondo of Blood for its existence. Okay, so here we've been watching the opening cinema, and you notice that it's quite animated but not quite full motion video. I think that was the good choice. There were games during this time that tried to do full motion video and it never really looked right. The console of this era just couldn't handle the number of colors necessary to make full motion video look good. So what they did here was just create big, mildly animated sprites and overlaid Redbook audio, music, and voice acting on top. Sometimes it looks a little bit odd, you'll see, when they try to animate appendages, but I think for the most part they made the right decision. And you notice that the game, while in German during the opening cinema, is subtitled in English. And at the cutscenes you'll see later on, and the ending will also be in English. Even the voice acting. I don't know why this opening is in German, to be honest. I guess German sounds more Dracula-y. I don't know. But in any case, this version of Rondo of Blood that I'm playing has a full English translation patched into the PC Super-CD-ROM. Okay, here we go. Let's get the game started. And here we're just going to create a new player. This is a new playthrough. And I chose to enter the name Richter. It doesn't do anything special. Sometimes when you enter specific names for characters or players, the game will open up a different kind of option for playthrough or give you a kind of a remastered version or new layout like Zelda will. But in this case, I was just naming it Richter just because. And actually, I kind of regretted it, because later on I realized that I was also going to play through as Maria, and it's kind of a I don't know, not fair to Maria. She was probably the more fun of the two to play. Maria is kind of an odd inclusion in this game, and you will see that I do have a Maria playthrough as well. Not only do I play as Maria all the way through the game, but I use the alternate exits, so you see all the alternate levels and all the alternate bosses. So if you're interested in that, check that out as well. This is Annette here. She is Richter's love interest and is captured by one of Dracula's henchmen called Shaft, who is pretty prominent in this game. You'll see him pop up throughout the game. You fight him towards the end. And here's Richter and all his badassness. It was pretty cool as he actually starts with the Morning Star whip. You don't have to work up to it. You'll see a lot of skeletons through this game as well. And that's what I was talking about, kind of the weird appendages. But stuff like that looks really cool, so I think it's worthwhile. All right, so here we go. This is the Prologue Stage 0. And here we see Richter rushing on his way to try to save his love Annette and destroy Dracula. One of the things I love about this game is the way they present the bosses. You'll see Death there in the background kind of scrolling, and he kind of comes into the foreground. That's a really cool effect, and it happens quite a bit. This is not much of a battle. You only have to hit him a couple of times. The only real thing that's a threat is the scythe, and I'll be honest, I don't even think you can lose. I think he won't ever hit you with enough scythes to kill you. He does throw that thing at the end, that kind of skull Hadoken, but again, I don't think you can die on this level. Alright, so once we have that run in with Death, we move on to the actual first stage. And here we go. And I love these subtitles, Dinner of Flames. That just sounds awesome. This first part's pretty straightforward, literally. I just walk straight and whip. There's no real danger here. You pick up a couple of sub-weapons. You see the knife, which I hardly ever use, and an axe, which I use quite a bit. My favorite weapon's probably the cross, but we won't see that for a while. Alright, so nothing really interesting here. Just a bunch of skeletons. I've played this many times, so I'm very familiar with the layout of the game, and it's hard. I don't get surprised by stuff anymore. I've played it so many times, and that guy just knew he was going to be there. He's kind of a pain if you don't hit him with that initially. And right here we'll see the first crossroads to an alternate path. To the left, you can actually break those rocks there and go to a different part of the game completely, and you'll see a completely different enemy at the end, a different boss battle. But for the Richter playthrough, I'm just going to play through all the normal endings, or normal bosses, normal exits, I should say. This guy here, I'm actually playing it super safe. You could probably just jump up and whip him, but I don't. I am very liberal with the use of hearts throughout this game. You're going to notice that. I don't hoard them at all. I believe that they're part of the game to use these sub-weapons, so I am very liberal with their use. I know I've seen some playthroughs where people like hardly ever use them and always have like 99 hearts. I'm like, I don't know what the point of that is. I mean, what are you going to do with the hearts at the end? They don't do anything for you. They give you points if you have some. If you're going for, I guess if you're going for a high score, it makes sense to save your hearts because they do get added up as bonus at the end of the stages. But I'm not going for high score, so I don't care. I just use them. And also, oh, there's the wyvern in the background. You can see kind of a, it's really neat. It just gives you a preview of what you're going to be fighting. And this battle is pretty simple as long as you have the axe, and you should. If you don't have the axe when you enter the boss stage, it will give it to you. It tends to do that, actually. There's a lot of boss stages where they figure that you will probably need a specific sub-weapon, and they will just kind of make sure that you have access to it. I remember when I very first started playing this game a long time ago. I don't know how I ended up at this stage without an axe. I don't know if I ran out of hearts. I doubt it. I don't know. For whatever reason, I was here without an axe, and let me tell you, trying to whip this thing is really difficult. It doesn't make, it doesn't come down far enough for you to whip it very often. But yeah, with an axe, no problem. And here are these power orbs that you have to pick up to move to the next stage. I don't really know why they exist. I don't see a plot line element for them, but there they are. There we go. Stage 1 clear. You'll notice that I did get a damage bonus 1-up for not getting any damage during the boss fight. Here we go, stage 2. This part of the game looks really cool. Actually, a lot of part of the games look really cool. The graphics on this game are amazing. I know that this came out on the PC Engine, which is supposed to be technically inferior to the Super Nintendo, but I think this game looks way better than Castlevania 4. I know Castlevania 4 has a lot of Mode 7 and stuff, but I prefer this game. I think it just looks and honestly feels a lot better to play. They did make a port of this game for the Super Nintendo, I should probably mention, called Dracula X. It's sort of loosely based on this game, but unlike the Dracula X Chronicles for the PSP, it was totally a remix. They took some elements of this game and completely jumbled them around. They changed levels around, they changed bosses around, so it's hardly the same game. It's sort of, but not really. This game, I think, is superior to Dracula X in almost every way. In this part of the game, I decided to just run through it. I could stop and hit every ghoul and hit those little eyeball things, but honestly, if you just run through it, other than the slowdown you'll see here for having too many things on the screen at once, it's just much easier. Just run through it, and at the end you'll see a cross here which destroys everything on the screen, which is kind of interesting because every other part of the game, it seems to give you crosses at points where you don't need them. If you kill everything, if you spend the time to whip every enemy, by the time you get to a cross, there's nothing to kill with it. So I think it's kind of neat that I saved it for actual enemies. This part's one of the most, it's probably one of the defining moments in the game, very early on too. This behemoth chases you through this castle, and on the Super Nintendo version it chases you through, but it's not a castle, and I don't know, I think it's a lot less intimidating. But here he's chasing you through the castle, and you gotta have to frantically get to the end here. And unlike the other parts of the game where you get to a door and it destroys all the enemies automatically, this guy does not die automatically. He comes after you. So that's really cool. First time you see this, it's pretty amazing. And all you have to do is get out of the way, and he manages to behead himself by ramming into the stone. That's a pretty Castlevania thing to do, to just burst into flames after you die. So what I didn't mention is, earlier I should have mentioned, was that I grabbed a key from one of the candles. And you'll notice that I have it, instead of my sub-weapon, I grabbed a key, and I have that key intact. And if you use it on this door here, you actually unlock Maria. And here's Shaft. This is the first time that you see Shaft. You whip him out of the way, he doesn't put up a fight, and then all of a sudden you get this new character, Maria. And you can actually end the game and select Maria from the menu from here on out as soon as you rescue her. But I'm actually going to play through the entire game as Richter. I'll come back and play as Maria again as a completely different game, different playthrough with all the alternates. So it's important to note here that Maria is actually somewhat related, or somehow related to Richter. She's part of the Belmont clan somehow. They portray her here as a 12-year-old adopted girl, somehow related to Annette as well, who is Richter's love. So I'm not sure how they haven't met before, if they both know Annette. But she considers herself a vampire hunter, and Richter kind of ridicules her. But quite honestly, she's the better vampire hunter in my opinion. Her inclusion of the game is really odd. It's kind of really cool and really strange. Here's the strange animated appendages again. But it's really strange. If you just play as Maria, when you play through the game, I mean, she's really, really good despite Richter's laugh and mocking her here. She's really, really good, but it doesn't seem like a Castlevania game whatsoever. Yeah, you just keep laughing, Richter, but like I said, she's a pretty good vampire hunter herself. So after you rescue Maria here, there are 4 maidens, by the way, that you can rescue. Maria is the only one that's playable. There are only 2 playable characters in this game, Maria and Richter. But there are 3 other maidens that are pretty well hidden, but you'll see me rescue Annette in this playthrough, and then the other 2 are actually on the alternate levels, so you'll see Maria rescue the remaining 2 after this. So you probably noticed that there was a big change in music. It went from Red Book audio to the PC Engine audio, and that happens every time you get to a boss battle. I'm not really sure why that happens. I don't know what about the boss battle is so taxing, but for whatever reason, it just switches to the different kind of audio. You don't get the Red Book audio. And here again is one of those really cool background to foreground boss, emergence here. He emerges from the background, comes to the foreground, and yeah. There's a lot of iconic monsters in this game. There's werewolf, like right here. And later on, you see stuff like Medusa, even Frankenstein and the Mummy. They all come out in this, so they're kind of almost homages to the old Universal Pictures monster flicks. Although there is no creature from the Black Lagoon. Actually, they kind of are. They're the fishmen that kind of popped up there when I was rescuing Maria. They're very similar to that. But this just looks amazing. That moon, the full moon in the background. This guy always reminded me of Blanca or John Talbane from the Darkstalker series. That move right there. And you'll see that he kind of comes down with one after he's defeated, he comes down with one final attack. A few of the bosses do that, so you have to be careful. You want to have I didn't get obviously I got hit, but if you're trying to get that 1-up for not getting any boss damage during the fight, you'll want to make sure to note where they do the final attack so that you stay out of the way. And there's my power orb, and I tend to do these goofy jumps at the end to try to catch Richter in really weird poses. That was probably my favorite one, when he's completely like horizontal. So here we are in the next stage here. That thing that I just picked up doesn't always come up. It's just invincibility, and not super useful because it doesn't last very long. I mean, there's nothing that I needed the invincibility for at that point. And again, they're random. So you'll see me. I know that I'm gonna have to come back through the top, and although those flame towers, that skull flame dragon face thing, not super hard to kill, but you'll notice it's kind of at a sub level. It's not at the same level as the rest of that part of the level, and that makes it a little bit harder to kill because I can't get to the bottom one like I can here, so I can just whip the bottom one straight away. And there's one of the secrets in the game. There's so many secret hearts and secret upgrades in the game, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't get them all. I get the ones that I remember, that I know of, or that I think I need, but I'm sure that I missed a few. And here's the section where the skulls would have been, the skull tower, but because I had the holy water, had the forethought to destroy it, I didn't have to mess with it there. And these guys, when they spin their lance around like that, they actually block your attack, but there's really nothing to be scared of. These guys here, I would say just go, you know, don't. There are parts of the game where it's better to just go, and there are parts of the games where it's better to be cautious, but for the most part, a lot of the times, things look a lot scarier than they are. If you spend too much time fussing with these, you'll probably take more damage than if you just press on through or run on through like I'm doing. For the most part, I just ignore them and get to the end here, get rid of these skull things, and just get to the door. And once I get to the door, poof, they all die, Castlevania style. Except for the behemoth, of course. Here we have these annoying flea guys. I actually get here. I know I get hit here. Yep, I sure did. These guys are just annoying. They take one hit. They're not especially dangerous, like, but they're just annoying. See, like that guy. They just randomly jump around. I picked up a different sub-weapon here, a grimoire or a holy book or a book of spells or a book of magic, whatever you want to call it. It's not super useful, I don't think. I use it only in this area. I don't think I use it anywhere else. So in contrast to the previous section, here's where it's better to just take it easy. So I take a lot of breaks here. I walk forward, kill a Medusa, I walk forward, kill a Medusa, because if you continuously walk, there's a good chance you end up in the Medusa's path and get hit. And also those logs there, if you see how it spun there, if you land on them, they spin and you fall, so you have to be very careful not to land on them. And there's another cross. You can walk across them just fine, by the way. Here's a mini-boss. There's not a whole bunch of mini-bosses in the game, but this is kind of a cool one. It's a giant skeleton. Like a lot of games in this era, the bosses and mini-bosses have very distinct patterns. And this guy always does a swipe attack, then he dashes at you, then he jumps over you. So, actually, sorry, he throws a bone, then he does the swipe attack like that. And then he jumps over you. But he doesn't even get to jump over the second time around because I'm pretty good at staying away from them. And then the bell just gives you some meat for some health. I always thought it was weird that in Castlevania the hearts are not health, they're ammo. I don't know, but you know, meat being health, that's pretty tropey, right? That's a very video game thing to do. So at this point, I decided, well, you know what? Let me try the grimoire here, the holy book or the book of spells, because those skulls can appear below you. And it's nice. The axe is very powerful, but it's got a weird angle. Sometimes the angle is great, and sometimes it's a detriment. So I think I thought that the holy book was a better choice. Even though I got hit there, probably wouldn't have if I had had the axe. But anyway, that's why I don't use the holy book that much. And you'll note that these knights, some enemies can jump gaps, but these knights can't. So it's just safe to just stay away from him and just whip him until he's dead. Because if they do hit you, they can knock you into the gaps. Sometimes you'll get to extra parts of the level, and sometimes it just kills you. This guy stole my sub-weapon, my book. And those little elevator type things is how you get to an alternate point in the game. But again, we're going straight through on this Richter run. I think this skeleton here is really cool. That you can whip him. He could have been just in the background, but it makes it cool that he can get whipped and he goes to dust. And there's one of my favorite weapons, the cross, and you'll notice that it's actually, giant meat, Brontosaurus. It looks like Flintstones meat. You'll notice that the sub-weapon is actually a cross, not just like an X. And that's because the Japanese are a lot more lenient with religious iconography. When it gets released in America, at least back then, back in this 8-bit and 16-bit days, they made it look like that, which is just an X because they didn't want any ties to religion. This Minotaur is actually pretty easy. Just be very aggressive with him. Don't be afraid. They have like all the bosses, very distinct patterns, and his aren't that tough. If you see him reach for the ground for bricks, you can see it actually creates a hole in the ground that you can fall into if you go to that part of the screen. But yeah, for the most part, just be very aggressive. If you see him charge down like that, no problem. Just jump up, give him a couple of whips, and just keep at it. Yeah, no problem. The problem that I had here was that I was dumb and I went all the way to the wall. Here's his after death attack, and he got me, which cost me a 1-up, but it's okay. I didn't really need it. I should have just stayed a little further from the wall and done the backflip. Here's the power orb to get to the next stage. Okay, stage 4, atop countless terrors. More flea men. Not that big a deal. Just take your time with them. These red skeletons, they come up quite often towards the second half of the game. They're not destroyable, at least not at this point. And you just kind of jump over them or hit them once and continue going. Just don't worry about them too much. Here, there you go. One whip and get out of there. These things I think they look really cool. You can see the flame travel through their body before they expel it from their mouths. They can be kind of dangerous though, so I don't even waste any time. I just use the axe, which does a lot of damage. It does, from what I can tell, it seems like it does like 2 whips worth of damage or something along those lines. It's integral for this part of the game because you can see it matches exactly the arc of those bones that are being thrown at you. That little flea guy up there, that's a secret, but anyway. So they're right, those little red platforms, if you land on those, you trigger some arrows, some poison arrows or something that get shot at you. So if you crouch down, it doesn't matter if you trigger them because arrows go over your head. That's why I crouched, because sometimes I mistime it. But it's better to just not even touch them. Another one of those flame serpents. And the reason I leave that money bag there is because I know that there's 1,000 points here. Even though I don't need the health, just went for the points. And just to show it to you all, in case you are at that point and you do need health, you know that it's there. This point here, I think I just, it's one of those times I just run through it. I don't even stop for this guy. I don't stop to get hearts, I don't do anything. I just ignore everything. There's a cross here at the end, and it incapacitates the red guy temporarily, and you just ignore him. I do remember this part. I had a little trouble here. You'll see. It's not that it's a difficult part. It's just that, just randomness. I got caught in some weird things happened here, but it's not too terrible. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. You just whip the flea man, jump on the sphere, and then jump to the next level and continue. But I have problems right around here. I recall. I tried to do a backflip to look super cool, and I completely cleared it. But for some reason, the game decided that I should get hit, even though I was on the other side of the sphere. It was rolling away from me. So I don't know. I think I got kind of ripped off there from my. They shouldn't have taken my health. But anyway, going back up here. So Richter, it's hard to turn around in the corner without moving away from the corner, because as soon as you start turning around, he starts moving in that direction. There's actually a thing you can do where if you whip and hold down the button, you actually can walk. That's what I did right there. I can walk backwards without turning around. A lot of people call it the moonwalk. So that can be kind of useful if you need to reposition yourself by walking back a little bit, but you don't want to turn around. So just hold down the whip button and it will keep you from turning around. And more red skeletons, no big deal. And I could kill this guy with axes from down below, but I decided that with that eye guy in my way, and the gap there, it's probably best to just keep going. So one of the nice things about Castlevania, or at least Rondo of Blood, is that you can attack their attacks, like their flames, their axes, stuff like that. You can actually whip at them and dissipate them instead of having to evade all of them. So that's always an easier option than trying to evade all that stuff. And here's what I was talking about. This guy's on the other side of a gap, so I know he can't come at me. Sometimes they try to rush you. You'll see here, like right there, but he can't get to me, so haha. And as long as you keep whipping, it's pretty easy to get through those guys. You can just whip through their axes. This guy comes at you almost always. Yep. He's the red guy always rushes you. That's his attack. So as long as you can stay away from his rushing attacks, you shouldn't have any problem. Pretty simple. This thing is kind of neat, even though I got hit by it. You have to. It's one of those points in the game where you're like, "Oh no, how do I get past this? It seems impossible." And then if you whip it, you'll see that you can alter the. Oh, the axe is so perfect here. I love it. And I think there's some meat here. Yeah, there is. So yeah, you can alter the path that that spiky ball goes through if you whip at the chain. This part I don't even check to see if you can do it because it's so simple. I'm not even sure if you can alter the path. It doesn't look like you can. And we should be getting to a boss here. Yep. And we should hear the difference in music, the boss music, the PC Engine audio instead of Redbook audio. And pick up the... so they give me the holy water because they figure it's probably better for me than any of the other weapons I could be holding. So I went ahead and grabbed it. Although the holy water is very weak, and there's another hidden meat that I didn't need, but if you don't need it, it gives you 1,000 points, so why not? But yeah, the holy water it's got a weird kind of 45-degree downward angle, which if you look at the level layout is perfect. And it does hit multiple times once it hits the ground. It's just weak. But it does make sense as far as, for this boss. So see, it didn't do a whole lot of damage there. Your whips are probably the better option. If you can whip them or use the holy water, go ahead and whip them. So he does detach his head, or it's already detached. He does send his head up away from his body. There's two different things he can do. One is that dropping rocks, and the other one is this kind of hell bent on finding you head heat-seeking thing. They're actually both pretty easy to avoid. Well, except for here, because he was being a jerk and he trapped me in the corner by putting his lance down right in the corner where I would need to land. And then normally you just do this right here, just double jump. And he only comes after you once. It looks like he's going to come after you a second time, but he never does. So yeah, this is pretty much it. Not too terribly difficult. Although, if I hadn't have been trapped in the corner, I probably could have perfected him, but, whatever. Yeah, he always goes after you once, and then he goes back. And he's pretty much dead. Oh, going for the... I think I said screw it. I probably could have gotten it. I mean, there was no danger of dying, so it wasn't, like, super dangerous to stay out there when the rocks were falling. Here's a power orb, and should be the end of the level. Okay, the Devil Flies by Night, Stage 5. I really dig how some of the levels have you going left. And it kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit, I think. So these guys, these mace skeletons, they're not super tough as long as you aren't afraid of them. You jump at them, hit them once, and then twice more, and they're gone. You usually don't even get a chance to swing their maces at you. And plus, those other skulls following me, I just know that there's a destroy all the things on the screen cross there, so I don't even need to worry about them. They're pretty slow. Here we're going to be introduced to what I always envisioned being a female skeleton because of the pink bow. Very evasive. They keep walking away from you, but as long as you're not afraid of them, just charge at them. And the one thing to note is if you get really close to them and you haven't killed them yet, you can crouch down in there. As long as you're whipping, you will hit their arrow as or before they send it out to you. Or if they whip high, there's another bonus meat. Not whip high, but if they shoot the arrow high, then you can avoid it because you're crouched down. This part, I don't even mess with it. That is an item crash. That is what happens when you hit the select button and you have a sub-weapon. Even when you don't have a sub-weapon, you'll have a super whip if you do that. So it takes a lot of hearts depending on what weapon you have, but it destroys a lot of the stuff on the screen. In that case, it destroyed everything on the screen, but the one thing I needed to hit, which was that red sword. So I decided not even to mess with it. I had plenty of hearts. And like I said, I'm not really afraid to use them. This part's pretty cool. It looks like nothing. It's a painting. The first time I got to this, I ever played this, I remember jumping, thinking, oh, what a cool painting. And jumping into the painting just, I don't know, instinctively. And what happens if you do that, it sucks you into the painting. You become part of the painting and you die, which is really cool, but I wasn't about to do that here because you die. Once you defeat this painting rather easily, it unlocks the store. The vines, just Castlevania style, just go up into flames. This guy here is pretty cool, but he only shows up like in 2 parts of the entire game. There's only like 2 of these guys. They shoot this gun, this really cool looking gun. They look really tough, and you just, whip them once and they're dead. And they're very easy to get to. Plus, if you let them shoot, they have to reload too, so they're not really much of a threat. Although they look really cool. This guy is not affected by your Holy Cross, so you have to whip him. It takes about 5 whips or so. The biggest threat are these stupid flea men riding those birds. So you'll see I just kind of randomly throw crosses in the air because they go forward and backward. They kind of give me a little shield in the air in case they come down on me while I'm fighting one of these green giant knight things, or whatever they are, brutes. You see right here, see it protect me from that guy, but unfortunately that guy came down afterwards and wasn't hit by the cross. It's not too terribly difficult. They're just kind of annoying. Just keep throwing crosses. And here you're going to see the only other time that a rifle guy appears is right there. And he's not going to get a chance to do much of anything either. So he shoots and then... Oh, he didn't reload. I guess he can shoot a couple times before he reloads, but you do have to reload at some point. Okay, and here we go to one of the more challenging bosses. This is Death himself. He reappears. He was, if you remember, he was in the prologue at the beginning of the game. He shows up here, and yeah, he can be kind of difficult. He throws a lot of sides. He has a couple of different phases of attacks, so but he's not too terrible. I prefer to use the Holy Cross here because it keeps kind of the skies occupied with some of my weapons. So you'll see I just kind of randomly throw. It's best to keep him on one side. I accidentally, you see those sides he throws at you. And the thing is, I throw so many crosses in the air that sometimes it's hard to tell what's a cross and what's one of his sides that he's throwing at me. So you see one there because they're both spinning objects in the air. But for the most part, I just don't relent. Just throw a whole bunch of them up in the air, and you can see I got him down to the next phase of his attack. And normally I can avoid these things, but for whatever reason I got hit by them twice. If he hits you by one of these skulls, he just starts another volley of them. So you have to kind of avoid a full volley of them before he'll come back and fight you again, because you can't hurt him while he's over there. So now he's transformed himself into his more traditional looking death uniform with the shroud and the scythe. And he's not too bad, just got to be careful. What you want to do is make sure that you see him attack. See, he's got a pretty far range. You want to see him attack and then go hit him. If he's off screen and you don't see him attack, like just assume that he hasn't done his attack yet, because it comes very quickly and it's very far. So you can see you can get a couple of swings in there. So I'm going to wait because of the stupid sides in the air. And once he does an attack that I can see, now I can go in and get a couple hits. And that's one more? Okay, there we go. And I love how his head look. Gets his head, chops it right off. It's funny he has so much blood for being a skeleton. And that's it. I get hit quite a bit, but with a lot of practice, you probably can get through that with a little bit, but you know, it's got a little unlucky with the skulls mostly. That's the end of that stage. On to stage 6. Here we have one of the cutscenes again. This is showing Annette and Dracula. Again, Annette is Richter's lover, girlfriend, etc., whatever you want to call it. He's out to save her.
What are you afraid of?
And you also see the appearance of Shaft, the guy in purple that was holding Maria hostage. You'll see him come up here.
It's a simple matter.
You also get to fight him twice later on.
And you benefit as well.
From what I was reading, I couldn't tell from the game itself, but from what I read of the lore, Shaft is the one that resurrected Dracula.
I would sooner kill myself.
As you wish.
And here again, the animated appendage looks a little weird.
What exactly makes me a savage? If my existence itself makes me savage, is that not the result of this world? Are not all the people of this age savages as well? So, I should be a shining beacon for what this world wants me to be.
Here we'll get the interruption from Shaft.
The one to lead them. Do you not agree?
My Lord Count.
What is it?
There are intruders.
There he is, right there.
I see. Destiny can be quite fun at times. They've likely come to interfere. I hope you'll be in a better
so while
mood
Dracula
later.
leaves and he's preoccupied, where he goes to fight Richter. Get one last look at Annette.
Save me. Richter.
Then we'll go on to stage 6. So this stage is interesting because The stage itself is a bunch of mini bosses, and it ends up with a fight against Shaft. So you'll see here immediately, instead of having to go through, 2-3 minutes of a 2-3 minutes of a level, you have to go through a couple of minutes of mini bosses, and it's just one of those things. We're just learning their patterns, just like every other part of the game where you have to fight bosses of any kind. This first one is pretty simple. All you have to do is whip at it, and it normally doesn't even get that close to you. That's kind of odd that it got that close to me. You can go on the other end of this level. There is pretty much a mirror image of platform, so if it gets really close to you, you can drop down and go to the other side, but it's pretty simple. I'll be honest, this thing reminds me of something that maybe reminds you of too when it gets into that drill phase, but I'm not going to say what it is. I'll leave that for you. Here's Medusa, not just her head, but the full body. If you apply a lot of pressure to her, she does throw that blue beam at you, which you just have to crouch, but if you apply a lot of pressure to her, you can actually kill her without any damage. I don't remember taking that hit there, but somehow I took a hit. She telegraphs her moves pretty easily, so not too bad. I must be thinking of Maria run when I get through her perfectly. This guy, I don't know, he seems like he's not that hard until you get to this part. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm not messing with all. I still got hit too. That's the one thing with using the item crash. You are not invulnerable. You are invulnerable for a little bit while the item crash kind of starts, but after the item crash is in place and is going, you can still get hit by stuff on the screen. But luckily, the mummy does give you some health as a reward for getting through him, and you fight against Frankenstein's monster. And again, I was like, you know what? I'm not messing with this. I got a lot of hearts. I'm going to go ahead and use my item crash to do some good damage. And yeah, he's dead. In fact, I got him all the way to all his life. Took all his life away. And I believe that gets us to Shaft. Yeah. So the other monsters were, just mini bosses. He is the main boss, and he's not too much more difficult than the other ones. He just, by this point, you usually have taken a couple of hits. You've wasted some hearts, so you have less resources to work with. Those flames, as you can see, you can hit, but wow, I just barely got that off in time. Like I said, you do have some invulnerability when you use your item crash. It just doesn't last the entire time that's animating. Those things, you usually just stand still and do a double jump, which back flips over them. But it was just too close to me. And I think that, yeah, I'm down to 6 hearts, so that's about it for my item crash. It does do a bit of damage, and I can hit him a few more times and he's dead. So the reason I don't move here is because I've beaten him before, and those 2 orbs will fall on either side of me. And for some reason, I just thought they would fall on either side of me. Nope, they fell right on top of me, did some damage. But it's not like I had a perfect run anyway, so no big deal. And here's another orb. I guess those orbs are related to Shaft in some way. I don't know. Anyway, that's my favorite end of stage kind of snapshot there from horizontally. This stage can be kind of a pain. These things, I mean, they are relentless, and unfortunately they take 2 hits from your whip or 1 axe, so you'll see me use the axe a lot more, but yeah, it'll take 2 hits from the whip, and it's just a pain in the butt. I've tried, over the many times I've played this game, I've tried different methods, and I think just using the axes just works best for me. If you're Maria, it's no problem. You just roll all the way through it. No need to even fight these things, but Richter does not have a roll, so he has to actually deal with these things. Oh, I just got out barely in time. So eventually you get to the part where, yeah, here we go. There's a cross that destroys everything on the screen, and you're done with this level. Then you enter the actual clock tower, and this is where you can find Annette. So I'm going to show you here how to find Annette. You have to find the key, take it from a giant bird, and then you find her pretty soon afterwards. So those little water skulls can be pretty annoying. It's best to just kind of move forward and not mess with them too much if you can. Kind of hard to do with Richter because he's not as mobile as Annette, so I end up having to fight them more than I wanted to. And those skeletons, they're normally not very dangerous, but when you combine them with stairs and the water skulls, they can actually get you. Okay, so here's the secret here. Let me get rid of this water skull first. Is hitting that gear. You can hit it over, you can hit either direction. As long as you hit this gear, it falls off, opens up the door, and you're up against this giant raven, I guess. Is that what that is? And a couple of axes, or a few axes. What I didn't do here, I'm not sure why I didn't. Do I go back and do it? No, I don't. Is you can actually, I picked up the key, which was around the neck of the bird, but you can actually whip the eggs of the bird and it gives you some health. And I do need health, so I guess I just wasn't thinking about it. But there is health in that little area. Here I just kind of wanted to show you what happens if you do an item crash with the key. He just says, oops, no, that doesn't do anything. It doesn't cost you any hearts or anything, but it's just kind of funny. So this harpy here, I got kind of lucky on both of these harpies, I remember, because they can be kind of a pain. I almost always have to jump the initial attack and then just jump at them and hopefully get them with a whip, but both of those times I got pretty lucky that they didn't get hit on me. There's another water skull, just ignore them. And you'll see all the way to the left, you see a cell, and you use the key. Actually, could see them, use the key there. And you find Annette, which is technically the fourth of the maidens, but the only one you can get other than Maria if you don't go through the alternate exits. You're finally united with your love, and just as quickly as you are united with her, you send her away because you've got more important things to do. You've got to kill Dracula. She begs you not to go, but you're a badass and you gotta go do what you gotta do.
I need to let a little out once in a while.
You hear the voice syncing isn't all that great throughout the game, but here it's especially off.
It's time to end this 100-year blood feud. Yeah. I'm gonna kill him myself.
No, don't! It's too dangerous!
But this is my destiny. Besides,
Hey, I gotta go do vampire hunter killer things.
the path up to here is safe. Now get going.
See ya.
Richter! Wait! Richter! Go back. Come back in one piece. Please.
Don't worry, it'll all be okay. Well, until Symphony of the Night, then probably won't be okay. But that's much later, don't worry about it. Alright, so continuing up the clock tower. This part, I just find it best to just go really fast. Don't even worry about stuff. There's going to be some Medusa heads up top, but I just go. If you do a backflip here, timed correctly, you can actually do a backflip. There's a little window in which you can do a backflip. If you do it toward the tail end of the window, you get a little higher, and that's how you can get up to the higher platforms. So here I decided to clear out this one guy. These giant knights take a lot of hits and they go really far after you. So I can only get about one hit before they can retaliate and hit me. So the third time around though, they always come with that high charge where you can get underneath, and I kind of took a chance there because he was coming after me. I just happened to get that whip kill right before he hit me. But for the most part, I hit him once, move away, hit him once, move away, crouch down, hit him a bunch of times and kill him. And those like dog bone things or cat bones, whatever that was, not very difficult. Just a single whip gets rid of them. So here's, oh, I missed him that time. Oh, there we go. And I decided to play it safe. Probably smart. And yeah, there it goes. I think there's another little dog thing here. Yep, little cat thing. I don't know what it is. I guess it's a cat. Maybe a dog. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So yeah, same thing here. Nothing different. You'll notice that there's some spaces up top. You actually can't get to that one on the right unless you drop down into it, and you can see that there's a very conspicuous set of blocks to the right, and they do contain a little bonus. I believe nothing's up here except for a candle. I mean, just a heart. Yeah, that's if you fall down. Like there's a way back out. So now that I know that area is pretty much cleared out, I'm going to go back up and fall down into that secret area. Not really secret, just, you know, hard to reach area. Oh, can't forget that heart. Big hearts are worth 5. And it's not exactly like I have a lot of hearts. I used a whole bunch in my previous boss battles. And oh, this guy. It's like an alien or something. It looks like Alien from the, you know, movie Alien. He extends his, yeah, he's kind of a pain. But anyway, there's the meat hidden in the hallway. I mean, hidden in the door, not in the door, hidden in the walls. You know, it's always good to eat meat that's been sitting in the walls for who knows how long. Of course, it's going to make you feel better. Yeah, these guys are kind of annoying just because they're not difficult. They're just take a lot of patience. There's a Holy Cross again, but do I decide to go? I don't remember what I did here. Oh, I remember why. I went with the axe because I'm going to meet one of those alien skeletons a little bit, and they throw a whole bunch of bones at you in an arc, and the axe will take care of that. Now watch this here, the third mirror. It's the alien. You see that? The alien skeleton in that third mirror, just like the one I'm fighting right there. See, it started to throw the skull bones at, or the skeleton bones at you. But yeah, I thought that was really cool when I first noticed it. That you walk through the mirror, you see Richter, and the third one you see an alien, and it's a mimic of you too. It's like if you move left and right, he follows your motions. This guy is harmless because he can't get over the gap. You have to mine the sword though, because the sword can get pretty far. You see there, but at least he can't run that far away from you. And there, he's dead. I think it's funny, like when he dies, he holds his sword up and it like falls apart. So I'm nearing the end of the level here. Here's another alien skeleton. Get rid of him easily with the axe. And those pendulums look really cool, but can't get to him from where I am, so I have to fall down there and get to this part and wait for a chance to jump on. Kind of like Jungle Hunt, if you remember that old arcade game. And if I get this thing, okay, now we're on to the boss music. So in this level, you'll see that there are bricks, if you take a really close look, that have weapon icons on them. Like the one up there has a holy water icon, and the one below me has an axe, and the one to the left of me right there has the cross. You can only break those bricks with that weapon, and you're supposed to go throughout the level there and pick up the different weapons to unlock, but all they do is unlock other weapons, and I already have the weapon that I want, so I just ignore them all. But just note that if you do want to get those other weapons, you have to kind of go in order. You know, they give you the next weapon to unlock the next area for the next weapon until you get to the weapon you want. So here's Shaft again. I know we destroyed him, but now he's like in ghost form, I guess. These evil guys, I mean, no wonder they're evil. They have so much power, you can't even kill them. Like Dracula, come on. How many times does he come back? So there's that double jump, super useful. In fact, I don't even know another way to avoid him other than doing that. That to me is kind of the skeletal remains of the wyvern that we killed earlier, but I'm not sure. I screwed up. I just didn't double jump there. So again, the axe does a whole lot of damage. And also gets rid of those bats that come over the wall. So I think the axe is the best bet here. And a few more hits. Oh, I hit the bat and the thing coming out of the ground. Almost done. And I still have to avoid that thing because even though I killed him, it was already on its way up. Okay, I managed to amass some more hearts here. 29 more. I think I started with 6, so 29 more than I've had before. But you get plenty of hearts towards the end, and you really don't even need them, so it's not that big a deal. And here we go, the final stage, Stage 8, Bloodlines. This is basically just a fight with Dracula. There's a secret stair here. It's not super important if you miss it. All it does is give you money. There are no other... I don't think there's any other upgrades here. Nope. Nope, there's not. So, if you want some extra points... I don't know why I had trouble going down the stairs, but There's going down the invisible stairs, and I think I choose the Holy Cross. I stay with that. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't use the water. The water's kind of pointless. So Dracula's battle, honestly, it's not that varied, not super interesting, and not really that hard. It just takes a lot of patience. He only has two kinds of attacks in this portion of the fight. He mostly throws those fireballs at you, which you can see you can jump over. Alternatively, you can time your jump just right, so where you whip. Oh, that's the other attack. If you whip at him just right during the jump, he'll hit. You have to hit him in the head, by the way. That's the only way he'll take damage. So you hit him in the head, and then the whip comes down and hits the 3 fireballs. If you time it just right, it's very difficult to do. So I opt for this kind of jumping over the fireballs and hitting him in the head strategy. Now you notice he'll mostly hold his hand away from you, but if he's holding his hand towards you, and that's how you know that the 2 black spheres are coming towards you. And see, now he's holding his hand away from me, so that's how you can tell what you're supposed to do. So hand is away, you know it's fireballs. Hand towards. It usually does, I don't know, 3 to 5 sets of fireballs before he does. Okay, now the hand towards, before he does those black spheres. The thing about the black spheres is, for me, at least for the strategy I'm using, it makes it difficult to get an attack in during that part. Although it certainly is possible. And I think he's going to do one more black. No. Okay, I need one more hit on him. Am I going to make it perfect? No, I am not. I knew that was going to happen. But I knew I wasn't. Then I'm like, oh man, now I missed him again. And now he does the black ball attack, so I can't even hit him again. So he gets a couple extra rounds that he normally wouldn't have gotten had I not messed up that one time. So I get into the final stage of this battle in pretty good shape. This one is probably even easier. That Holy Cross is pretty good because it hits multiple times, but it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of damage. And right here, I have 2 choices. I can try to crouch in between his legs or try to run underneath him when he jumps. I did neither. I went for the let's get hit all the time option, which you should not do. But this was actually pretty. I got really close to dying, and it was pretty nerve-wracking for me when I was playing. I was trying to be extra careful, and it was actually causing me to get hit more instead of being aggressive. So as you can see, I have quite a far ways to go and very little health. So so luckily he pulls away here to do this stupid attack, which is really, really telegraphed and never is really any damage. I mean, there's no chance you can get hit by it. He travels to the other end of the screen, glows blue, and then shoots something you can duck under. So I'm like almost dead here. And at this point, I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna die at this point? This is where I'm gonna die. But luckily, I get some good smacks in and right here end it all. So I do make it without dying. And that's it. That is the battle with Dracula. So here you'll get the ending of the story. So I'm going to kind of sign off from the commentary to let you enjoy the end of the story here. But I will be back for the commentary for Maria's playthrough and all the alternate exits and the alternate bosses.
Once again, the blood of Belmont has defeated me. Perhaps this, too, is part of my fate.
Death to you! The world is not yours to exist in!
It is not by my own power that I am resurrected. It is the greed of humanity which calls me back. And thus, by might, I rule. Might becomes the one and only justice in this world.
Of all the self-serving claptrap! The same basic fate drives all people to seek, to come together, to move forward. That surely can't be an evil thing.
And yet, here I am. Do you not have any desires?
Well,
it is by your desires that you humans prosper, and it is your faith which has ruled you. Considering that, can you really call me evil?
let People cannot be ruled by power alone. The sacred, the honorable, the loved, those things can rule humanity. Something evil will eventually fall to ruin!
I see. Perhaps you're right. We shall meet again, Blood of Belmont.
Hello everyone, this is Rob Nava. Welcome to the commentary track for Maria's playthrough for Dracula X, Rondo, also known as Castlevania Rondo of Blood. I'm going to assume that you've already seen my Richter playthrough, so I'm going to skip a lot of the backstory. We're going to continue the game having beaten Dracula already with Richter. As you can see, 64% of the game has already been completed, and the remaining 36% will come through playing the alternate levels and finding the last two maidens. Although it's not necessary, I'm going to play through the game with Maria, who is the only other playable character. Now I realize that the game has started here, but this beginning part is rather boring, so here's a bit more about Maria. We first saw Maria during the Richter playthrough, as she was the first maiden to be rescued early on in the game. According to the lore, she is a 12-year-old blood relative of Richter, who is also a vampire hunter and who also knows Annette, Richter's lover. I've read that she is Annette's sister, but that would be kind of weird if Richter and Maria are related, so I'm just going to chalk that up to some kind of translation error. As a game character, she is very powerful. She has very powerful attacks and the ability to do double jumps. Those things on their own would probably make her a better choice than Richter for most of the game, but she also has a fantastic ground roll, which allows her to outrun a lot of enemies. And if that wasn't enough, she also has a semi-secret attack where she projects a version of herself that does a ton of damage to enemies, especially bosses. Now, it's kind of hard to do, and you won't see me use it that often because, again, it is really hard to do in battle, but When it comes out, I will point that out to you. On top of all that, she also has some pretty amazing sub-weapons, some of which come in the form of cute animals. Her only downside really is that she takes more damage than Richter does when he gets hit. And here we see we're finally going to the part of the first level where it leads us to the alternate path and the alternate exit with the alternate boss. So finishing up with Maria, she's very nimble and powerful, so you really don't even notice that she takes more damage than Richter. And overall, I just think she's just a much easier character to use than Richter to play through the game. You go back to the game here. Now we've gone pretty deep into the alternate part of the level. This is kind of a mini boss that I don't think has much of a point. It doesn't drop anything that I could note here, and I don't know. I don't really even know why it exists. I've always killed it every time I've come through here, but it doesn't seem to do anything. Here's that roll I was talking about, and it gets her really quickly. Those people that are doing like speed runs of this game will often use Maria and just roll through everything because you can avoid a lot of enemies. And here you'll see her double jump, which you can always tell you've activated because she gives a little sparkle, just like that. And it really gets you to places in the game that Richter can't normally get to, or has to do a lot more to get to that level. And plus you'll notice she can attack twice just by default. She has those doves instead of a whip. She can shoot two of them off at once, or have two of them out at the same time. And not only can you do two of them, here's that roll again, getting across here quickly. Not only can you do two of them, but they do a lot of damage and they return to you. So if you hit something right at the kind of the edge where it returns to you, you can actually hit things twice. And again, it does more damage than the whip. So this sea serpent here, oh, there's that special character, or that special move I was talking to you about. It's really difficult to catch this sea serpent at all, even with the doves that have a 2 times chance to attack because they go forward and backward. Well, 4 times if you count that I have 2 of them. But it's hard enough to catch, so catching it with Maria's alter ego attack is pretty difficult to do. Her double jump makes it really easy to avoid his attacks there when he's right on the bridge that you're on. But if you play through with Richter, this can be kind of challenging, I think. He does less damage with his attacks. He doesn't have the double jump. It's harder to evade stuff. So you're going to find that pretty much at all times, Maria's just easier to play through. So here's that double jump I was talking about. I suppose you can turn away from it and do a backwards double jump, like to evade, but I don't know. Just Maria's is so much better. So this, like all the other characters, all of the bosses in the game have patterns, so you just have to learn the patterns and recognize what he's doing next. And, it's not too bad with Maria. You can get through unscathed pretty easily. And there's that final boss attack that got me on the Minotaur, but I was able to avoid that one. I think actually on this run, because I'm using Maria, it was just a lot easier to fight these bosses. I'm pretty sure I make it through all the alternate bosses without getting hit. So because I didn't get hit, I get that no damage bonus and I get a 1-up. And first level clear with Maria. So now we're on to the second alternate level. And I think it says Stage 2 Prime. There it is. And this is, it's kind of neat because it's almost like a completely different game. This part is never seen through. You never see this part if you don't take that alternate exit. There are enemies that only appear on the alternate part of the game. There's completely different bosses through a good portion of the alternate. Well, all the alternate levels have different bosses, but then eventually the paths do intersect again in level 6, where you have to fight all the bosses together, all the mini bosses together. At that point, from level 6 on, which is there's only 2 levels after that, 7 and then level 8, which is the boss fight with Dracula. 6, 7, and 8 are all the same regardless. So there's only alternate paths for 2, 3, 4, and 5. But you'll notice, like, she does a ton of damage with those doves. Those bone statues, when you hit them, I mean, it only takes like 2 hits and they're like dead. So here we see one of the first alternate only enemies, which is that Gargoyle. And they can be quite a pain in the butt if you don't catch them right away. They'll follow you around and just be harassing you the whole time. So not all gargoyles come to life, but sometimes I forget which is which, and I just shoot at them anyway. I think this one does. Yep. Okay, so we're getting to a different part of this level, and again, it's kind of interesting. You can go through the whole game and never see any of this stuff. And in fact, there's a section here that I didn't show where you ride to a different part of the level, but it's not considered. It doesn't get me towards the alternate exit, so I didn't take it. That guy's new as well for the alternate levels, and he can be pretty dangerous. He will jump over gaps, and he does quite a bit of damage, so you're gonna have to make sure to get rid of him as soon as possible. And right here we're gonna see, okay, that's another enemy that only appears in the alternate level. In fact, I only think they appear there, that spider. So I purposefully fell here to find this alternate exit to this alternate level, and just having that double jump makes things so much easier. I'm gonna get to a mini boss here, which is kind of tough. I end up using my item crash with the turtle, but it's not even enough to kill him. So I end up taking some damage right here. I shouldn't have. I should have just used another item crasher. I had plenty of hearts, or just moved further away, but I got an item crash there right before I was gonna get hit, so I think this ends him. Yeah, that finishes him off. So right here you're gonna see a Richter Doll real quick. There it is. And that is your 1-up. Her items change, her food changes, like you'll see lollipops and just different kinds of foods than you would if you were playing with Richter, so that's kind of neat. There's a lollipop right there. Now I picked up a dragon, and the thing with the dragon, it's pretty powerful. It attacks things above you, but it takes a lot of hearts to use, and the item crash version I think takes like 50 hearts, so it's pretty crazy. You don't really want to use that too much. You're going to note here how much damage Maria can do with those doves. Look at that damage. Here we go. Just wailing on this thing. I love this boss, by the way. The fact that it kind of forms up from the bones and just changes shape and form, but it's still made up of bones. I think that's incredible design right there. But Maria being Maria, she has, again, really powerful attacks, and her doves attack in both directions, and there I used the dragon to kind of give it the final touch to put it into the last form, which is no match for these doves, you'll see. So this thing just kind of stays on the ground, but that dragon unfortunately misses. It's too high, but this thing just is no match for those doves. So yeah, pretty easy for Maria to get through that. It's a little bit more challenging. Really, that's just the common theme. It's always more challenging for Richter. And again, another no damage bonus, so I get another 1-up. Okay, here we go. Stage 3 Prime. Let the soul be peace. Okay, so this one has kind of a neat little hidden power-up section here. And I'm going to show you pretty early on in this stage. In fact, it's right above us. Just need to get there without getting hit. Again, those doves are just... Oh, man, I got so lucky there. Those doves are just so amazing. And that tombstone comes after you, but... So this is kind of a neat secret. You can push this tombstone out of the way, and it sinks you into the ground, and you're like, what? What is this about? And yeah, you get to this one section, and it has pretty much all the power-ups. And I just picked up the egg. There's a Richter power-up, which isn't a power-up, actually just a 1-up. There's a cute cat that definitely has its purpose too. This egg really only has a purpose for me here, so that's why I picked it up. There's this mini boss that shows up that's actually very, very simple to beat if you use this egg. It's not terribly difficult on its own, but if you use this egg, you'll see it's pretty much instant death. Yeah, there it is. The point of that mini boss, or how to kill that mini boss, is to shoot out its 3 eyes. But the egg, when it cracks open, it shoots all these doves or birds or whatever they are straight up. And yeah, it's just, ooh, I got really close to dying there, or getting hit, I should say. Yeah, it's just no match for it. Those things just pop out and kill that mini boss immediately. Oh, man, another close run or close bout with getting hit. So I'm getting close. There it is. This section right here is where we pick up the 3rd maiden. It's the 2nd in order if you're going to get them in order, but it's the 3rd one that I get because I take all the normal paths during Richter's run. And here's a nun that has been trapped down here, and we're going to free her. So this cutscene does change whether you're playing as Richter or as Maria, but the dialogue doesn't really change much at all, really. It does acknowledge that you are a different character, though. And so this is a nun, and she's praying, and she thinks that Maria has been sent from God, sent by God, to kind of, you know, free the land and save her.
Please hurry back to the village.
And Maria's like, yeah, okay, peace out, I'm out of here.
What's your name?
This part's funny.
Maria Renata.
It seems really funny for Maria, but Richter does the same thing, and it's just like, oh, I'm a badass. But when Maria does it, it's kind of funny.
God is watching over you.
So a cool little thing here is you're going to see that if you go back, most folks will probably just continue on. But if you go back, you'll see that there's some bonus stuff there. Get a lot of hearts. However, there's a bad guy hidden in that one of those candles too, which does not happen often. I cannot think of another place where a candle has a bad guy, basically a monster box. This part I think is cool. So you destroy that and that part of the background changes. I think that's really cool for some reason. There's that guy again. He can actually be a pain in the butt, but again, those birds just keep on hitting them forwards and backwards, and they do so much damage. Below her right there, you'll see that there's kind of an area that looks like you can get to. We are going to get to that area. That's how we're going to get to the alternate boss. So yeah, that guy, I missed with the first few doves, so I knew he was going to come after me. So we got some extra stuff here. And I think, do I pick up a different... I think I pick up a different... No, I keep the egg. Oh, I think I pick up a different power-up. I think it's a cat when I fight the boss. So I have to come up here to... you'll see here, there's a set of big, large spiked balls on chains, where if you cut the chain, they drop, and it would make sense that when they drop, they fall below, and when they fall below, it crushes those rocks and allows you to get to that area that you couldn't get to before. There's no sense in going that way, so I just don't even bother. So I drop down, and now that area that was covered with rocks has been cut, but you have to be careful because if you fall, you will hit that spiked ball. So knowing that it was there, I was ready to do the double jump. And here we enter the alternate boss here. This part's kind of cool. After I pick up this cat, yeah, check out this mouse on the right side. It's a rat. See, I hit it, and you're like, why do you hit it so far? Because the heart could disappear. If you come to this side and try to kill the rat, as soon as you get close to the rat, it runs away. So the only way to get that heart from the rat is to hit it from the other side and rush over. And the other nice thing is that little mouse hole, that rat hole, holds cheese, which I think just this level of detail by this game is just amazing. This boss can be... so I got lucky. It came right at me, and I was able to just hit it with a barrage of doves, and they do so much damage. But if you don't get it just right, it can be a pain in the butt. It has a lot of different kinds of attacks. But I got lucky. It came towards me, and I just wailed on it. I knew once it came towards me that it was all over for that thing. Sometimes I can even get it before it even escapes my clutches at all. And there's another power orb, and I'm up to 99. And you'll see that I had to use a lot less hearts when playing through Maria just because her doves are so good. And there's another no damage bonus 1-up. I'm up to 10. All right, stage 4. We're just stage 4 prime. We're really going through these pretty quickly. This one's a little challenging, but there's another hidden maiden here that you can rescue. You'll see it's towards the end, but these crows and frogs can be kind of a pain in the butt. But again, I ignore them because once you get to the gate, boom, they're all dead. And here's the second part of this level here, the stage. You can go down that log, and I will do so, but before I do that, I want to save the maiden. So I'm going to go forward a bit. And here's where a cat becomes useful. So the cat just traverses the ground, and it could hit things and does a lot of damage, and then it bounces back and hits them again. So you'll see that right there. So if you're going through a level and you want to make sure that you don't get hit by anything in front of you, you want to speed through it, just throw some cats down and just follow them. And you'll see later I throw some cats down and roll behind them, and it makes it much easier to get through the level quickly without having fear of getting hit. So I'm not really sure why I'm going back for this. Oh, that was dumb. I didn't need it. So here's where I throw a cat down, and I'm like, okay, cat, lead the way. I'm just going to roll here and just ignore everything else, and that cat will take care of stuff. And you'll see that before I wasn't able to get to that staircase, but now I am. That's why I had to go to the edge of the level, hit that frog statue at the end. And these guys, which I guess are the tributes to the creature from the Black Lagoon, just kind of ignore them, just keep moving forward and pay them no mind for the most part, unless they come up right in front of you. And here's the third in order, or fourth in the order that I got them, maiden. Her name is Iris, and she's the not the son, the daughter. She's the daughter of the village doctor. Why she is down there, I have no idea. And why she feels like she's being rescued by this little girl just entering her house, I don't know either. But here she notices that Maria is hurt and offers to bandage her up, and this is where you find out that she's At first, when I played this with Richter, she starts taking off her clothes. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm like, oh, okay. She's making a bandage. Why she feels the need to tear off her sleeve, I don't know. Why she wouldn't use her apron or something else, or a rag, I don't know. But anyway, that's the last maiden. And just like the previous maiden, the nun, if you leave and then come back, I'll come back here. Of course, get to the door, destroys everything. There's a bunch of goodies for you. And here basically gives you all the power-ups. You can choose which one you want. I decided to use the songbook, which allows Maria to sing. Not super useful, but it's kind of neat. I just wanted to use it. Here's a Richter 1-up, which I didn't get on the way in, so I picked that up there. I'm up to 12 in reserve. And just to show you guys, there's some meat there in case you need some health. And now we can get back to the point where we saw the logs, because that's how we're going to continue on. And although I could use those hard, so I decided to just forego them and just take the log down. This part's pretty interesting. This raven thing actually can give you a bunch of power-ups, but I'm happy with what I have, and I don't want it to accidentally give me something else, so I just kill it when it shows up. And these skeletons are just no match for the doves. So I just kill it straight away. The little box underneath it you can hit, and it repeatedly drops just health and hearts and power-ups and weapons and stuff, but I don't need any of them. Have to be careful here, because at some point it ends, and if you don't jump off the log, you will fall. So you have to jump just right to avoid this bird here and land perfectly. And I go ahead and if you press up, you can read the sign, Death Canyon. And here we go. And this guy actually appears in other parts of the game, but this is the first time we see him here. He's just giving us a short trip across this little channel. And a little hint here, if you just keep jumping on him, he keeps giving you stuff. So first he gives you some food, and then as a bonus, I will give you this, and then he gives you a key. Now you can get a key by finding the bats, but it's much easier just to have him give it to you. And then after this point, if you keep doing it, he gives you these potions. If I went on there again, he just gave me this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I need the key. But those bats are where you can get a key as well. But I always just jump on the boat. It's so much easier. So I'm waiting for more bats because I know they come in a big group, and I don't want to hit one as I jump. So luckily that rock that I'm on doesn't... Oh, I should have saved that. Ooh, so close there. Luckily that rock doesn't sink. Just take a chance and go. So I use the key there, open up the door, and this, I believe, is Camilla? Can't remember now. Well, we'll see soon. Yep, it is Camilla. So Camilla, so there's two things that you're fighting here. One is the vampire sitting in the chair. If you go down there, she'll actually bite you and suck out all your hearts. And the other thing is this like naked lady on this skull. Not really sure which one Camilla. I always assumed Camilla is the girl that is in the chair. And once you get rid of the skull, which I used the item crash to do so for the most part, she turned into this like cat girl like anime thing. I don't even know. It doesn't really go with Castlevania, like the monsters and stuff, but yeah, she's not too terribly hard. And because she is a vampire, when you kill her, she releases all this blood in the form of hearts. So that's kind of neat. And because I got another perfect on the boss, these bosses again are not hard when you have Maria. I get another no damage bonus of a 1-up. So what are we up to, like 13? Let's see here. Yep, 13. Alright, so this is the last of the alternate stages, and this one actually doesn't have a boss at the end of it, but this level is long, and it can be tough. You'll see at some point I have to resort to using, I almost got hit there, I actually, what ended up happening is I picked up an invincibility little potion, and well, and then I double jump because the enemy didn't get killed. When you're invincible, any enemy that touches you gets damaged and usually dies. Unless it's the boss, I suppose. But I've never seen invincibility in the boss level. Anyway, just kind of going forward, pressing forward, making sure that those, oh man, fireball from nowhere, that those guys with swords don't get at you because, yeah, they leap pretty far. And here it takes a while. Oh man, I hate those stupid guys when they jump up like that. It takes a while for that thing to make its round back, make the complete roundabout because it's so far. It travels pretty far here, you can see. You can go through the top, but there's no need to. Going through the bottom is not very dangerous. There's just a bat here and there. So I'm waiting for a bat here. There we go. And then we go to the next part of this level. For this stage. Here's a cat, and it comes in pretty useful because I'm going to be finding some knights who are all ground-based. And so the cats can kind of lead the way. I have 99 hearts right here, but I want to save them because I know I'm going to have to use some item crashes with the boss battle. So here you can actually go through the top or through the bottom. The bottom doesn't have these two Mega Knights, or if you recall previously where I got hit by a knight that even I used a turtle item crash on and it still killed me, or still hit me. I shouldn't say it didn't kill me. I'm going to fight two of those at once if you go through the top. If you go through the bottom, you don't have to fight them, but there's a bunch of Medusa heads and a bunch more jumping, so you have to choose between traversing a harder level or fighting a harder boss. Because I just choose to use the item crash, I just choose to take the easy way and just use the item crash to defeat the harder bosses. So all you're gonna fight up here is knights, and here's the rush knight. Because I have so much room, he's not a threat at all. He just can't even get to me in time. And those doves again, so powerful. I think there's one more blue knight here. There it is. So again, I use cats to lead the way, and they do a lot of damage. So right here I'm going to get stopped, and I'm going to be surrounded, or on either side, by these Mega Knights. And I'm like, yep, I'm not even going to mess with you dudes. I'm just going to do 2 item crashes, and you're going to be dead. So that kitty is awesome. So I make it through this part, and here I'm through the last part of, oh wait, no, there's 2 more parts. There's this part, which isn't very tough. There's only one knight at the end, and again, I let the cats lead the way. There's a bit of slowdown there. And I'm going to get to a knight. And the cat should hit the knight 2 times each, and it does a lot of damage. And I just couple of, so one more cat did it, but a couple of doves would have done it too. I'm not even going to mess with those dudes. I'm just going to get to the end of the level, the stage, and move on. So this is the last section for the alternate stage 5. And you're going to have to mess with all these Medusas, and I do some pretty crazy jumping here to avoid them, and I think I duck. Yeah, I remember that being very stressful. There's a heart here too, so, oh wait, yeah, heart. I couldn't remember if it was heart or food. So you got to be careful with these knights because they go very quickly, and if you jump on those platforms there that look like they fall, they will fall, so don't jump on them. The trick here is not to worry about the Medusa heads, only to worry about the spears, and when you see it's the right time for a spear, just shoot some doves, and hopefully the doves take out the Medusa heads, because again, they travel forward and backward, and you get 2 of them, so most of the time, ooh, that was close. Most of the time, the trouble is the knight spear, not the Medusa heads. So I know there's another knight here, that's why I'm throwing kitty cats, and the cat should get him. Whoa! Oh man, those Medusa heads. When you're going slowly, they don't seem like at all a threat, but man, sometimes they hit you when you least expect it. And here ends the level for the stage. Keep calling them level, stage, whatever. And that's the end of stage 5. There is no boss. The stage itself is the boss because it's a mother to get through. Now we move to stage 6, and from this point forward, it's the same as the Richter run, except that you'll see it's much easier when you have Maria. The double jumping and that turtle, actually, you'll see me use the turtle later. Actually, I'm going to use it here, I'm pretty sure. The turtle is amazing. If I had more hearts, I'd probably use it even more. But here we go. Same bosses as before with Richter. Going to start with the bat, pink bat, which again, when it turns into a drill form, you tell me if it doesn't remind you of something. So anyway, here's the bats, and you just pelt it with these things, and that's the nice thing about the turtle shell, that you're basically not going to take any damage. Very few things can damage you when you're in the turtle shell. It's almost gone. 2 more hits. There it is. And good for us, she gives us a ton of hearts, which I will need. Medusa is just going to get her just crap beat out of her. Maria, I used the alter ego, and if you rewind that part, she does a massive amount of damage when she hits with that. So to do that move, it's down, up, and then down forward, which is a really awkward move. Sometimes what I'll try to do is, I'm trying to do it right there. You can see I'm going up and down, up and down. That's because I'm trying to do the alter ego move, which does a whole bunch of damage. But since I wasn't able to do it, I just shell up, so not take any damage, and just pelt them with these, not so many there, but I'm trying to pelt them with these. And the nice thing is you can move with it too, and do it in the air. Pelt them with these doves should kill him, and there he's gone. And he does give you health, which is in the form of, looks like a parfait when you're Maria. And now it comes down to Frankenstein, and yeah. So even if you're in a shell and he picks you up, he grabs a hold of you, he doesn't do any damage. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I probably waited too long. Should have popped out. And I'm pretty sure. Oh, there it is. That I was trying to do the alter ego attack, and it did a ton of damage. So that's really cool when I can get that to work, especially on a boss. That's really the only time it's worthwhile, because her doves do enough damage. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, so we're doing really well right here. Don't have that many hearts left, but if I can get this guy with the alter ego attack, then it would really make this a much shorter fight. So here comes Shaft, which is a weird thing to say if you think of the 70s, you know, blaxploitation movie Detective Shaft, or the remake. Samuel L. Jackson. So yeah, just pelting him with these things. I think I turtle up for a good portion of this, but unfortunately I run out of turtle shells eventually. It's just such a good move. I mean, nothing penetrates it here at this boss level fight. And that double jump is so good. Now, I probably was a little overzealous with my shell usage. I know that I can shoot the oops, no, that was a good usage right there. I know that I can shoot the fire with my doves. Oh man, I should have just double jumped. Saved it. And that's it, folks. I am down to a single heart, so from this point on, I gotta evade on my own. Which I did a good job there, actually. But it's, oh, these things. Yep, I'm dead. Not dead, but I'm for sure going to get hit. It was just too difficult to avoid them. Again, if I could get an alter ego attack on him, that'd probably end it. I'm pretty sure I'm trying there. Sometimes what I'll do is a shortcut, or the easier way to do it is I'll push down, up, and then do a fireball, like a Street Fighter 2 fireball. You know, down, 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 down. So I go down, up, down, down, forward, forward. Or down, up, down, down, forward. And sometimes that'll work and get the alter ego attack to come out. But there we go, defeated Shaft. Wasn't a perfect, but that's okay. I probably would have gotten it again with more hearts. And here we go, Power Orb. And moving on to Stage 7. Which again is the same Stage 7 that Richter goes through. In this part, if you saw the Richter part, how there was kind of a pain in the butt, but when you're Maria, you can just roll, 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 baby. As soon as I get rid of this guy, I just roll all the way out of there. Those bats can't even keep up with me. I go so fast. The breaking bridge doesn't even keep up with me. Okay, so every so often I have to stop for one of those bats, but for the most part, I can just outrun everything. And there's a cross right there, takes care of any remaining bats, and I can just move on. So I'm going to have to work at building up my heart level a little bit. Not that I need a whole lot of hearts, but it's always good to have some in reserve. And trying to get through this part with, man, there's so many skulls here. Look at all that. Ah, terrible. Anyway, so well, let's get rid of this guy. Oh, that's the one thing about the doves is they follow you. So if you jump and then you when you fall, it follows you down. And this thing should be no match for the doves. Yep, gone. And here, remember that there's some food there. It looked like ramen or a bowl of something. And yeah, moving on. Ah, forget it. I know I need hearts, but not that badly. These harpies aren't that big a deal when you have Maria, because you can shoot 2 doves at a time, and they return to you. I keep mentioning the doves because they're so awesome. They're just so awesome. So much better than the whip. And here, just for the heck of it, I'm going to show you where Annette was held, but she's not there because we've already rescued her. So you just get the bonus stuffs. Oh, 700? That's 700? I never really paid attention to that before. I'm an odd number. I'm not sure if it said 100, I just looked weird. So this part, because she can double jump, it makes things a lot easier. Oh, I guess I hit must have hit a water skull, I guess. But I can pretty much avoid all this stuff just with my double jumping. And here I'm going to follow the same pattern I did with Richter. I'm going to get rid of this knight first. And because I can hit multiple times, it becomes no problem. Yeah, he doesn't even get to the point where he does this other attack where you duck under it. She actually is so short that she goes underneath just by default some of the enemy attacks. Like Medusa's blue beam, it goes right over your head. Again, just being careful. Yep, you are done. I love the cat. I'm not sure if it has a good use here, but I love the cat. Oh, man, it did hit the knight a couple of times. There it is. You are done. Oh, I didn't mean to trigger that guy, but you know, since I got him triggered, I might as well finish him off. Yep, he's done. Yeah. And now I'm off to get the bonus, the extra meat that's hidden in the wall right to my left there. Just fall down. Yep, I just don't even bother with that alien skeleton. Get the ramen, move forward. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember skipping this. I need the hearts. Some more hearts. And the part to the right is where you fall to get past the pendulums. Or to get onto the pendulums. Here again, look for the third mirror. The first two are Maria, and this one is pretty cool. It hits the skeleton. I spent a little bit more time on that mirror this time around than I did on the Richter one, but that's really cool. Yeah, the best thing to do in that thing is just rush it. Don't have to worry about the bones too much. There's a one up right here, hidden. There's a Richter Doll. She's up to 16. And this knight should pose no problem at all. One more hit. Ooh, that could have gotten me. Okay, maybe 2 more hits. There it is. One more candle. Heart. I think I can actually jump on the pendulum there, jump to the left, but for whatever reason, I guess probably habit, I went to the other side. And that's where we were just a little while ago. But yeah, I don't actually think with Maria, you can just double jump to the left. But it doesn't hurt to go this way. Yeah, you can just double jump to the left, I think. Alright, here we are. Boss battle. Reincarnation. Not reincarnation, but the ghost, I guess, of Shaft. Don't need it, but 1,000 points, why not? The shell is really only useful for boss battles. Don't really find a need for it against normal enemies, just because they don't do that much damage, and you can just kill them pretty quickly. Get this heart up there. Double. This should be a big heart. There you go. There. I just wanted to do an Ultra Ego attack for some reason. The thing is, that attack does it doesn't take any hearts at all. And it's really powerful. The only drawback is it's hard to do in a battle. Sometimes you get one and you get into a rhythm and you can just do like 2 or 3 in a row. But it's still kind of, just doesn't come naturally, that motion. Yeah, it's so easy to avoid that guy with a double jump. I think I screw up here someplace. Does he come down after me? Yes. I should have used a shell. I think one of those two guys will hurt me even with the shell. Not the fire. Pretty sure not the fire. No. Maybe the guy from underneath, who may be, I don't know, is that the beast that chases me through the castle? I'm not really sure. Kind of looks like it has a horn. Okay, so that didn't hurt me either. Almost done here. Turtle up. Those bats are... They don't seem like they would be that bad, but they can be pretty annoying. Not so bad when you have the axe with Richter, but... Oh, that actually... Yeah, that was not good. There we go. Finally. Get rid of this guy. I would say once and for all, but I think he makes an appearance in Symphony of the Night, which is a direct sequel to this. Here we get the Power Orb, and we'll enter the last level here, which is just a battle against Dracula. Alright, here we go. Final battle. Dracula. And again, there is a hidden staircase there that leads to a bunch of money bags. Not much else, but, you know, kind of neat. It's the only hidden stairwell I know of, or staircase that I know of in the game. So there's the dragon, which does a lot of damage, but I don't know. Still like my turtle shell. Gives me the ability to protect myself from attacks. So you're going to see that it becomes much easier with Maria's double jumps to defeat Richter. Plus, a lot of those attacks will hit twice, because if I time it, or just space it just right, the double attack out, and then as it comes back, it'll attack again just like that. And with the double jump, it makes those, you know, clearing those fireballs no problem. Again, the direction of his arm dictates what he's going to attack with. If his arm is away from you like that, it's going to be a fireball, and most of the time it is. If his arm is towards you, then he's going to attack with those 2 black spheres, in which case you probably just need to just crouch to the first one and jump the second one. So yeah, that was not a problem. That double jump really comes in handy. And the dove power here that I've been talking about this whole playthrough really comes in handy here. Just hitting so many times. Look at how much, he's almost halfway dead already. Look at that. Got about 20% of his life left, and I thought maybe I wasn't going to do it, but he doesn't even get to turn around. I turtled up just in case, but wasn't even necessary, and that's it. Perfect on you, Dracula. It was actually easier than some of the other battles. And that's it. Beat the game with Maria, got the 2 extra maidens, fought all the extra alternate bosses, and played through all the alternate stages. So you'll see at the end, the video is gonna run through to the end where you will see that it will now say 100%. But I'll go ahead and sign off here from the commentary. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't seen the Richter run, take a look at that.
Is part of my fate.
It's your fault for being so mean to everyone.
It is not by my own power that I am resurrected. It is the greed of humanity which calls me back. And thus, by might, I rule. Might becomes the one and only justice in this world.
I don't understand what that means. No matter how complicated you make it, a bad thing is still a bad thing.
So long as greedy humans exist, I shall be reborn. That's all you need to remember. You proved amusing to me. We shall meet again, Blood of Belmont.
What you think is so funny? Bye.